Hi, I'm Murray Carter of Carter Cutlery.
And I'm Wyme of Wyme Cutlery.
We met about 2 years ago, became fast friends, and we immediately, our common interest in knives led us to the idea of trying to develop the world's best combat knife.
The idea behind this knife was that it would be light enough for everyone to carry, not an extremely overbuilt knife like many of the knives are out there, but still be effective to accomplish 99% of the tasks asked of it out in the field.
So we came up with a knife that was going to be between 4 and 5 ounces in weight, and last July we debuted the FS1 knife, the Field Stalker Prototype 1 knife. So far we've made hundreds of them have been fielded, and today we want to demonstrate some of the abilities of that knife. So I asked Wyme to ask his special ops friends down in San Diego what they were actually really using knives for.
Absolutely, and many of the knives that we needed in combat needed to go through tires, thick rubber, chop things, wood, dowels, things of that nature, cut through thick rope to get things open. So the test that we've devised here today will do exactly that.
Yeah. So we have devised a very demanding series of tests that are going to test both the ultimate dexterity and fine cutting capability of these very light, very acute edged knives, but also we've got some durability tests that are going to absolutely take these knives to their limit. We want to show you what these knives can do. So now I'm going to take you through each one of our testing and give you an idea how to follow along, and you'll see the logic of our thinking here. Starting here, we have 2 drinking straws on dowels, and the first test is going to test the edge geometry and the fine control capability of this very light knife. We're going to cut the straw down about 4.5 inches and hopefully split it in half. Then the second straw here is flexible. As you can see, it's a flexible drinking straw, and I'm going to try to chop the top off of that straw. Then, for the first time ever in this industry, even though I pioneered the cutting of the water bottles and the water tins, today we're going to try something new, and we're actually going to try to cut the top off of the bottle without knocking the bottle off before the top gets cut off, and chop the top off that bottle. We'll see how that goes. This is a 1-inch manila rope. It's kind of a standard in the industry to be able to chop through this in one swipe. Usually done with blades upwards of 10 inches, and we're going to be doing it with blades just slightly over 4 inches. So it's going to be tremendously challenging, but we'll see how that fares. I think we can do it. Now here's where it really gets interesting, because we were trying to develop a knife that would cut cleanly through things. This is a 90-page magazine, which we have rolled up. It's hard, and we're going to attempt to slice through this in one slice all the way through. That's 90 pages rolled over and over and over itself. This is a great test of the edge geometry and the cutting keenness of the blade. So oddly enough, Wyme here tells me that a lot of the special ops guys cut a lot of zip ties. I guess they use them as temporary handcuffs and so on. So what we've got here is a 5/16 inch hardwood dowel tied with zip ties, and the test is going to be to flick and cut the zip tie off and then chop through the dowel in one chopping motion. And this is going to test both the sharpness and the integrity of that edge geometry. Okay, here we've got 1/2 inch PVC pipe, and it's 1/8 inch thickness walls, and we're going to chop through this in one chop. And again, it's a very severe test of the super thin edges that we have here. If a blade is going to fail because it's too thin, this is likely where it's going to fail. We have 2 setups here of electrical wire. One's an extension, heavy-duty extension cord. Same thing. Got to tip rip that zip tie off of there and then cleanly cut through that extension cord. This is a little more challenging because this is 14-gauge electric wire. 3 strands of pure copper wire in there, and flick off that zip tie and chop through that. Now moving on from the electrical wires, we have this tire, and we're going to attempt to cut sections out of this tire, out of the sidewalls. very difficult test, testing the penetrative ability, the thickness, the secondary edge geometry, and the edge retention of the knife, because there's all sorts of fibers and metal wires and strands inside this tire. Well, not quite as robust as the hood of an old Ford car. This is 8-gauge aluminum, the same kind of aluminum that you would find in an aircraft body. And we are going to puncture the tip through this and cut down to our second line here, which is 7 inches. We're going to do that twice. And that's going to test the penetration skills of the blade. And again, it should be just about it should be the death to any fine edge of a knife. And another thing that Wyme and I came up with, this is an original. This is a bucket of rocks and sand. And in here is a little PVC pipe piece that we need to dig out with the blade of the knife. And if there was any edge left on the knife after that, that's going to take care of it. Okay, now to demonstrate the ease of sharpening of these laminated blades that we're using, we're going to sharpen the blade in under 45 seconds and then do a tomato drop test on the blade. We have a vise here. We're going to put the knife in the vise, drop the tomato from exactly a height of 17 inches from the blade, and we're going to see what happens. The goal is to be able to sharpen the blade after all of that rigorous and destructive testing, sharpen it within 45 seconds and get it razor sharp again. So that is our series of tests. Now let's run through them and see what happens. Here we go.
All right, 45 seconds. Seconds. 30 seconds. 35. 40. 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah! Woo! Nice.
Well, Wyme, I thought that was an impressive battery of tests.
Absolutely. Brutal tests.
Yeah, those same tests when we were working with our prototypes absolutely destroyed several knives. The testing is thorough enough to reveal if the blades aren't hard enough, if they've not been tempered properly, if they're not sharpened properly, but most importantly, if they have the proper edge geometry, that secondary edge geometry, and how it relates to the primary edge geometry. It's just not easy to cut through rubber and rolled up magazines if the blade is overbuilt, like is commonly built for knives that are just testing that kind of stuff.
Yep, 99% of those blades overbuilt, and the idea that you can bring this back to a keen edge in 45 seconds unbelievable. No other knife out there will do that.
Well, this is Murray Carter
And Wymie from Wymie Cutlery.
saying, get yourself one of these FS1 knives and be ready for anything.
Take care.